If, like me, you are also a fan of test cricket matches, then you must be aware how important second innings are, because you have a pressure of the whole 5 days of a test match. Then there's a changing pitch conditions as well, which is unavoidable. Secondly, you are either chasing a huge total or defending one, and many famous test matches, they are turned in the performance of the second innings. Now you must be wondering why we are talking about cricket here on this channel, because we are Car and Bike and we talk about car and bikes. Because what we have today is this. This is the second innings of this car, the Mahindra XUV 3XO. The 3XO is basically the Mahindra XUV 300 reincarnated, and it has some significant changes both inside and out to guarantee it a newer name and also your attention, because right now the XUV 3XO, it has 7 other direct rivals in the sub 4 meter SUV segment. So in this video, let us take a detailed look at 3 reasons why the 3XO deserves your attention and 3 reasons why you're better off. You're watching Car and Bike, I'm Bilal, and before we go ahead, do consider subscribing to the Car and Bike YouTube channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell icon as well so that you can be notified every time we get out with a new video, an informative video such as this one. We begin with the first positive of the 3XO, and surprisingly we begin with the cabin, which is very spacious. Because if you remember correctly, the original 300, it was basically a chopped off SsangYong Tivoli. Now Tivoli internationally, it is a big car. It is measuring the same size as some of the C SUVs that are on sale in India. The Creta, for example. So when you chopped off a bigger car to make a sub 4 meter SUV, it translated into a very spacious cabin. And the 3XO, it carries forward all of those spacious cabin traits, making it one of the most spacious cars in this segment. And it is now also quite decently decked up. You get in this range topping trim a dual zone climate control and an electronic handbrake, which isn't available in any other car in this segment. You also get ADAS, auto dimming IRVM, auto headlamps, a large panoramic sunroof, the first in the segment to offer it, the next one offered after this one. Apart from that, you also get a floating touchscreen, drive modes, and a 360-degree camera as well, apart from a wireless charging pad. So secondly, we come to the powertrain, and more importantly, the choices of powertrain. Because when you are in a cutthroat segment, you have to offer more, a lot more actually. So the 3XO, it has not one but 2 choices of petrol engine. The more expensive one getting a direct injection. Apart from that, you also get a diesel in the segment, a very punchy, a very torquey, and a very frugal diesel. More importantly, again, both the petrol and the diesel engine options, they have a choice of automatic. The petrol engines, they come with a proper torque converter. Meanwhile, there is an AMT for the diesel. We are driving the TGDI turbo petrol engine, and in one word, it is good. It's like a pet dog you take out for a stroll. Not the most aggressive kind of dog, but a well-trained one. There's good urgency right from the beginning, and be it city speeds or highway speeds, it never gives you any reason to complain. It's also a high revving engine, and the automatic gearbox is equally smooth with quick shifts and with little to no delays. When the XUV 300, when it came out with this turbo petrol engine, the TGDI, it was called the Turbo Sport back then. It felt a bit rough. As I said, it wasn't a well-trained dog back then. Now it is, and it drives really well, be it for the high-speed cruising or relaxed city drives. And then there's the diesel, the 1.5 litre 4-cylinder. It is quite refined if you ask me, one of the best one out there, and there aren't many choices for a diesel, especially in this segment. It has good punchy nature, very good refined torque curve, and also a very good load carrying capacity. Add to it the frugality, and it's definitely one to have if you want a very frugal 3XO in your garage. Also, it needs to be mentioned that the 3XO, it carries over one of the good traits of firstly Mahindra and secondly of the 300 as well. It's good ride quality. It's pretty well absorbent. It manages to take in good road, bad roads, no road with a very good posture, with good composure. And this also helps be it in the city driving conditions or when you're out doing intercity travels. The ride quality is phenomenally good. Thirdly, the one question I had when I first saw the 3XO is, does it have enough update to guarantee itself a new nameplate? Well, let's take all the changes that it brings with it with the magnifying glass, shall we? Firstly, the design has changed a lot, despite the panels being not very different from the 300. The face is now more hip and more modern rather than mature and squared off. At the back, the connecting tail lamps are also modern, done by almost all manufacturers now, and it helps with the stance of the 3XO. Moving inside, the cabin has also received updates inspired by its elder siblings, especially the Mahindra XUV 3XO. For example, the steering, the driver's display and even the touchscreen have been updated. Larger seats, again taken from the bigger sibling, also feels more accommodating. A little added depth also increases the boot space capacity, making it more practical than before. At the same time, the 3XO has scored 5-star in the Bharat NCAP crash test, but this range-topping version, it also comes with 7 airbags. So yeah, admittedly, this is a very deep facelift. But does it answer my question and does it deserve a new up nameplate? Well, I am in two minds here right now, because I believe that it could have been a bit more deeper in terms of changes, but more on it later in this video. But I also believe that the 3XO name, it sounds much cooler than the erstwhile 300. But what do you think, our dear viewers? Do let us know in the comment section below. Now my first complaint with the 3XO, we come back again to the cabin, because it is an all-white cabin which is surely prone to get dirty and pretty soon. Our test car here, it has 4,000 kilometers on the odometer and the seats, they have already started being spoiled. It is almost getting brown now. And more importantly, the 3XO, it is a very spacious cabin. It has a very spacious cabin which doesn't need an all-white cabin to feel more airy and spacious. So if you have given a very sporty exterior, why have you given a cabin an executive look? Give us some very sporty interior with black theme and contrast inserts, especially matching those extravagantly bright exterior colors. Also, the no ventilation for the front seat is a huge bummer. Can't miss that in this segment, especially when you have almost everything else. Another thing is, you do get wireless smartphone integration here, but I couldn't experience it in the test car that we had with us. Now, second reason for staying away from the 3XO has to be its fuel efficiency, because it has a turbo petrol engine. It also has a direct injection and a convenience of an automatic. So the trade-off has to be its fuel efficiency. Now, it's not exactly 3XO's fault. It has got a good 120 bhp engine, which is good to drive, very powerful. But it's a generally accepted fact that if you are going for a turbo petrol engine with direct injection, with the convenience of an automatic, the only trade-off will be the fuel efficiency. But if you really want the 3XO and the mileage is your priority, then you have to get the diesel, because in the turbo petrol engine, the efficiency that you'd get is in higher single digits. But go for the diesel and the mileage would be good, around 12 to 13 kmpl in the city and around 17 to 18 kmpl on the highway. So getting the diesel for the 3XO would be the wiser choice. And lastly, the third reason for staying away from the 3XO is the fact that it is essentially an old wine in a new bottle, because it is a heavily cosmetized 300. It has a mascara here, some lipstick too, some foundation there and concealer too. Even when you move inside, you look at the cascading center console, it is exactly the same one which came out with the original 300 almost more than half a decade ago. Sure, it hasn't received a skin deep changes, but the platform isn't too bad. Neither is the powertrain too outdated yet. Design is now modern, sure, which is great, but a generation change at this point, after being around for for almost 7 years would surely take the 3XO up a notch. So there you have it, the reincarnated Mahindra XUV 3XO. It carries on all the strong traits of the outgoing 300, which means it has a very spacious cabin, it has good driving options, the powertrain options that is, which is also really good to drive, and it's also got a very phenomenal ride quality. Now with this update, it's also very feature loaded, and it's also priced on par with its rival. But on the flip side, I believe that the changes on it could be a bit more skin deep, and missing out on very basic features such as seat ventilation. It's not exactly a deal breaker, but why miss out on that in the first place? But the 3XO in the sub 4 meter SUV segment, it's one of the strongest competitor, which makes a very strong case for itself. So if you are going for the 3XO and getting yourself one, you definitely won't regret. So that's all from me in this video. This is Bilal signing off. Until next time.